Howdy ho, welcome to another episode 33 of the exercise application assignment. Only about 3 more of these bad boys to go. So let's get started talking about what I did in the gym today. So today was triceps and back and abs. So I did the easy bar French press. I was able to get 2 more reps than last time on my top set, so that was good. Then I went into, wasn't able to go right into the bilateral lat pull down like I usually like to do, just to break up my tricep work. But so I went straight into the easy bar tricep push downs. Felt pretty good. Then I went to the bilateral lat pull down. Then I did, instead of the diverging lat pull down machine, because like it feels alright, but I was having to stack a stupid amount of weight on there. I didn't feel like fooling with that. I just did regular frontal plane lat pull downs. I like them, good as ever. And then I did, what was it? I did my upper back seated hammer strength machine rows, chest supported. And they didn't honestly feel too excellent today. Like they just, I don't know. I mean, I made progress on them, but they just didn't feel good, which I suppose doesn't matter as long as I'm lifting with the same form and making progress. And then I finished out with some cable crunches, not on the cable crunch machine, but I did them on the cable stack instead, like the pulleys, just to try something different because I'm about to stack out that machine, and it felt pretty decent. A good ab machine is kind of hard to come by. So let's talk about how that applies to lecture. Well, we didn't really have lecture, we have review today. So I just basically reviewed all the charts that I've been taking notes on. I had this big old master chart where I connected everything. So if we're thinking about our adaptations to endurance training, the primary thing that we're trying to do is increase our VO2 max. How do we do that? Through 2 systems. Increasing our maximum cardiac output and increasing our AVO2 difference. How do we do that? Well, cardiac output, the adaptations are primarily increases in stroke volume. How do we do that? Well, gosh, I'm yawning. Sympathetic nervous system activity is going to go down at the onset of training because it's going to become less stressful as we adapt towards it, as our muscles develop more. It's kind of hard to talk about one thing without talking about 50 things, but I'm just going to keep talking. As our muscles increase in their their antioxidant enzymes, their mitochondria volume, and what's the last thing? There's one more thing. They become more slow twitch, the fast to slow shift. As that happens, we're more able to use fats as fuel, and with that, we're able to use more fats as fuel. We're relying less on pyruvate, and we're not producing as much acid. Number one, because we don't have as much CO2 being released, and number two, we are producing lactate because the type of LDH, like I mentioned last episode, is different, and the NADH that also has to be there. There's more shuttles to take that to Krebs. So when that happens, there's less sympathetic nerve activity because it's less stressful, right? And when it's less stressful, your heart isn't as, your accelerator nerve activity is going down. Your vagal tone takes over a little bit more as a result. And when your heart's beating less quickly, that means that there's more time for passive fill of the ventricles, more time for passive fill. That's more Frank-Starling principle goes up. And also with the decreased sympathetic nerve activity, less vasoconstriction of arterioles, our aortic blood pressure is going to go down, our afterload decreases. Long term, we do see improvements in contractility, but that's kind of a minor improvement. AVO2 difference, we have increased capillary density, we have increased mitochondria volume. Mitochondria volume is going to contribute to a greater pressure gradient of oxygen, so your mitochondria is always going to be able to use up more oxygen than your heart can supply. So it's basically just like a black hole for oxygen, when you increase the mitochondria volume. So oxygen in the blood is going to be pulled more, and with a slower heart rate, that means there's more time for the oxygen to offload. There's also more time for the free fatty acids to the plasma free fatty acids to enter the muscle to provide energy. So your free fatty acid utilization goes up. What else? say capillary density, mitochondrial volume, and then that's the AVO2 difference, more oxygen offload, and that increases your VO2 max. I mean, you have the specific, so you have your primary signals, which is your AMP to ATP ratio, your calcium levels, what else? I'm gonna have to look at that. I need to know those by heart, to be honest. I just have to read on this chart, sadly. Your calcium levels, your AMP to ATP ratios, and your free radicals. Okay, those are your primary signals. So your calcium is going to activate calcineurin and CAMK. AMP ATP is going to activate AMPK. Free radicals are going to activate P38 and NFKB. And that's, CAMK, AMPK, and P38 are going to activate PGC1 alpha, which is the primary thing for mitochondrial biogenesis and also plays for the fast slow shift and synthesis of antioxidant enzymes. So that's like, your main, those are your second messengers right there. And then, of course, there is a regulation of the feed-forward mechanisms in the cardiorespiratory control centers. So your group 3 and 4 fibers are going to communicate with your spinal cord for the working muscle. Basically, how many local factors are there, which is your free radicals and lactate. And that's going to tell your spinal cord to send a signal to your cardiorespiratory control centers, which will increase your heart rate and shunt more of your liver and kidney blood flow towards the working muscles when there's more buildup of that. And of course, it's just less buildup of that. There's less signal to your cardiorespiratory control centers. That means that adaptations to training are local, because you're only going to have the increased mitochondria and the increased ability to utilize fat as acid as an adaptation within whatever muscle you're working. So that's like the sort of single leg experiment in the book. And so, your motor unit recruitment and your cardiorespiratory control centers, that is influenced by your motor cortex, cerebellum, and basal ganglia, which are going to fund that feed forward mechanism. But endurance training is going to reduce the amount of central drive needed during submaximal work, because, like I said, you're not having that feedback from the group 3 and group 4 fibers, or at least that feedback takes a longer time to get there. I think that just about covers all the important stuff. See you in the next one.